Settling down a little bit. What I'd like to do now is go around and have whomever, that we do have staff assigned to each table, but if anyone else wants this job, they can have it, is to go around and report out on what your two groups came up with. Again, if you didn't change marker color for the second group, kind of draw a line or something so we know where the break in thought was. You intentionally left spaces between some of the items, or to the left of the items I see, so that as the rest of you listen, try to pick out the most important item from each list that you feel would be important to move that area forward, like you would vote for. One in each category that you think will really make that happen, say for employment or for education. So have your markers handy. Again, you're going to need those. We were going to use dots, but we don't have enough dots for 30 people to have 10 dots each. So we're going to use markers.
So we do one
yeah, but one, do a dot. And we've left room. See, Ed really took this instruction well. He left plenty of room below each item for you to put a dot. So this is why it's important that you have your items laid out on the wall so that people can see each item after you've gone through the list for us. So you're going to hear it as well. You might just make a mental note or a post-it note that that's one I want to vote for. So it's one item per category when we get through with the reporting. Okay? All righty. Let's start. Let me organize this so I know it's done. Let's start with safety shelter. What ideas did you all come up with? Where's safety shelter?
That's the group that we didn't really...
We didn't do anything with that. Okay, no ideas on that. But, well, lots of ideas about where to go. How to get there is something else. Okay, we can take it from there. Education, let's do your list.
Okay, so we had some resounding themes, and one of them was obviously the first thing that we were going back to programs for young girls and early intervention. So just the importance of the work that Girls Inc. is doing and really spreading that across other schools, and socioeconomic boundaries that came up. Classes for women in transition. That transition can be defined as anything coming out of our shelter, just living in the community, finding a place to go, or getting out of a marriage, or trying to re-enter school, or trying to re-enter the workforce, just being that go-to place for women in transition. Services for refugees and immigrants over the age of 18. Fatima brought up a great point that when refugees or immigrants come here and they are 18, they cannot, over 18, they cannot go into our school system. And there just are not resources for them in the community. And so being kind of that go-to place for that population. Education for boys and men, outreach to young men. They're part of our solution. It's not just about educating the girls, it's also about educating the boys and men and starting that at an earlier age, just like we are the girls. Continuing on, the post-secondary college prep, counseling, scholarships, or trade school. It's great that we're with these girls and working with them, but what happens, when they get through high school and they don't have the resources to continue on or the support to continue on. So being that resource and support system as well. Being a place for just personal, intellectual, and spiritual growth. Having classes that women of all ages, economic backgrounds can come to, just really have some individual growth. Along the lines of the services for refugees, but just also reaching out to the immigrant population more in our outreach services. And DB was kind of used as an example, but us speaking their language and knowing their language and understanding their culture and being more adept at that. And I love this. This was like, we are the center for all women. And just basically kind of encompasses everything on this sheet. But just no matter what age, no matter what background, no matter who you are, we're the place to go, the place to come. then this touches on kind of the earlier one. It doesn't matter whether you live in Belmead or whether you live in, East Nashville. Middle school girls are going through the same thing. So it's being there for all of them. And then the last thing was just looking at a partnership with our GED program and community college. The two community colleges in Nashville State and Columbia State, have dual enrollment programs for kids in high school, finishing their high school degree. You never know when somebody comes to us, why they're coming to us and needing the GED. It's not always that they just dropped out of high school and didn't want to finish. There's personal circumstances, and they could qualify for a dual enrollment program if that was an option, or just looking at scholarship opportunities for our GED students after finishing, to go on to community college. So that's kind of what education was.
Okay. Questions or comments? Good job, hey? For everybody who contributed to that.
I just had a question about college prep. I think a lot of people think that the guidance counselors in high schools are there to help with college, but they are not doing that. And they just have other things they have to do, so it's surprised a lot of people. And Oasis Center has put together a great program about college prep, too. Mm-hmm. But I know that that's not taking care of the whole county. So I was just wondering, could you just elaborate a little bit more on the college prep program? Were you thinking, was the idea that we would have kind of information available, kind of like what Oasis is doing, or is it something being a supplement to that, or just it's a need and somebody you need to think about it? Or
Well, I don't really know what Oasis is doing, but it's more to what we talked about. It's instilling that belief and that thought early in these girls that college is an option for them. Just because they come from a family who may not have the resources, or parents, or grandparents who never went, or brothers and sisters, it is an option for them, and making them believe that, and then helping them figure out how to get there, through scholarships, and teaching them the process of looking for scholarships or grants, or that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's what Oasis is doing or not doing.
Well, they kept seeing kids coming, like right now, who are seniors, going, how do I go to college? Because that information is not
starting earlier.
So, I think that's, and so then they have a process by which they're trying to have outreach to kids.
Yeah.
Right. This is maybe incorporating that voice into all education.
Okay.
Question two.
Sure.
Just clarification on how we are determining the one thing that we're picking.
The one that you think will move that area further faster. It's like the most significant one, or you feel like it's the, help me with this, Pat, kind of the power piece in it,
I think, and I talk about this over the summer, our group's going to work on all of these things, but what we want is we want the cream to rise. So we want to look at the things that could have the greatest impact that this group is saying, please make sure you consider. It
Greatest
doesn't mean we'll
impact.
necessarily do it, because it might be impossible. But like MK saying, you think it will move us ahead, and you're saying to us, make sure this gets talked about and considered.
It's priority.
And if we're doing a 5-year strategic plan, does it also need to be something that can get done in 5 years, or something that can start here? So it could be a big thing that doesn't have to get done in 5 years.
And again, I don't think that it needs to be able to get done in 5 years. It just needs to get started probably in the next 3. Okay?
Yeah. I would vote it's warm in here. Does anyone think it's warm in here? Okay. It's now warm. We've moved to warm. And Molly's going to handle that. Okay. Shall we move to, let's see, we just did education. Let's move on to coaching and mentoring. This is how I can keep up with it.
For coaching and mentoring, we talked about vocational training, which goes, I was kind of hoping we'd go next because some of ours overlap with education a little bit. So either at the YWCA or at some other teaching facility for folks who are completing their GED. We discussed in depth an agency-wide mentoring program. So when I say client, I'm generally talking, I'm talking about a recipient of our services. But for clients, for board members, and for staff,